What is up, guys? Welcome back to Today I Learned Bitcoin. Extremely excited for today's episode. We have Cody on. He's going to teach us about Mempool. If you're unfamiliar with Mempool, this is the episode for you. We're going to deep dive, understand what we're looking at here. I know personally, I've pulled it up. There's been a lot of, drama lately about, transactions being backed up, and I couldn't really understand what I was looking at exactly. So we brought him on to teach us what we're looking at, and we're excited to dive in. I'll bring up Jason here, the co-host. Say what up, Jason. How are you?
What's up, guys? Good to see Alec.
Yeah, man. And we got Cody here. Say what up.
Hey guys, how's it going? Excited to get into the mempool. Been spent probably way too much time just staring at the mempool. My wife could attest.
Yeah, I love it.
We
man.
haven't spent enough time staring, so we're gonna strike equilibrium here.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Cody.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time to teach us and everyone else watching the show. I mean, my first question, and probably any beginner's question, is like, Cody, what the heck is Mempool? What is it even?
Mempool is just I guess the mempool in terms of Bitcoin is where the transactions are stored on your nodes. So there's just a big index of transactions that are waiting to be confirmed, and that's your node's mempool. Like, there isn't a single mempool. Every single node has their own mempool. But it's pretty often you'll go to Mempool.Space. So we're kind of like mixing, getting like kind of some like terms getting mixed here. But Mempool.Space is a public block explorer you can look at, and that's what we'll go on today and look at. And that's just like where you can look at, everything. It's like taking Bitcoin and just turning it into a completely viewable, explainable thing, basically, instead of just being this like abstract idea with numbers and blocks and all this stuff that you say you understand. Like, everybody's like, oh, I understand blockchain, and then they don't. And then when you look at Mempool, you're like, oh, I think I actually might begin to understand what's going on here. So
yeah, I've always understood it as like a visual representation of the blockchain, right? That's a pretty simple way to put it.
Yeah, and they keep getting better and better. Like, it's we'll see. It is a visual representation. Yeah, they've done a really good job.
Bitcoin is real. It's not like this fake thing that doesn't exist that a lot of people keep saying.
These are big questions, you're asking. Is Bitcoin real? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's all a simulation. Maybe Mempool.Space is a simulation.
Well, simulation I want to live in.
Yeah. I'm pretty stoked, man, because like, honestly, whenever I try to explain blockchain, one, I do it very poorly, and two, my first inkling is like, oh, okay, let me grab a piece of paper and like draw this out. And then it's like, no, that's gonna go even worse if I do that. So this will be cool to see a visual.
Yeah, I think like Mempool is the easiest way to just quickly show what's happening, because it's actually moving in real time. Like, if you draw it on a piece of paper, it's like, oh, and see, like, this block then is confirmed and blah, that's like confusing. But Mempool, you can just literally watch it. And if you get lucky, you can watch a block literally like in real time slide over from being waiting and to being confirmed. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wait long enough, maybe we will get lucky in there. Who knows?
We're
every 10 minutes. Probably,
we're just gonna sit here for a while until something happens.
It's every 10 minutes unless you. It's every 10 minutes unless you have a transaction you're waiting to be confirmed, and then it's God knows how long. Always. I have the saying that a washed block is never mined. Like a washed pot never boils. This is.
Okay.
Don't watch the mempool. If you send a transaction, try not to look at the mempool, because it will take forever. So
just wait for the confirmation and go back and
look. Just act cool, like you don't care. Just act like, oh, I can go through whenever. I don't care.
I think everybody like remembers their first transaction. At least for me, like, I was kind of terrified. I didn't exactly know what I was doing, and I know everyone, like, best practice, send a small transaction, especially when you're moving from like an exchange to cold storage, right? Do a small transaction, then the larger one. It didn't make me really feel any more comfortable. Like, I did the small one, then I was still like, oh, is this larger one going to work? So it's pretty cool that you can, maybe get a bit more peace of mind seeing it in action.
Yeah, I think the only scary thing there, what scared me the most, I like moved my coins off of Kraken originally, and I did the same thing you did with a small transaction and a big one. But the problem is they don't give you like because they batch transactions. When you do those transfers, they don't give you like a transaction ID or anything, so you can't actually go look at it on Mempool. Every transaction after that you can, but because they batch them, they just, at least on Kraken, they just tell you like, okay, your transaction will be sent in the next hour, and you're just like, okay, yeah, it feels
I'll be
really
here.
like it feels really vulnerable. I think you're like, oh man, that's when you're questioning whether it's all real or not. You're just like, it's all fake. I've been completely duped.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
let's maybe dive into it. You want to share up
Yeah.
your screen and
Yeah, let me pull this up.
get ready
So,
for the
yeah.
questions to flood in.
Yeah, I'll just go over kind of like, I'll try and explain quickly what really basically we're looking at. There's a lot of debate as to whether this should be flipped, so I'm not even going to touch this button because it could be just so many hateful comments. But anyway, this is like the blockchain. You see this like nice fading like heartbeat over here? This is like the mempool. This is where all these transactions are waiting. And these are confirmed transactions. See how they have a number on top? So
Yeah.
you can go in here and you can type in any block number. This is the biggest block that's ever been mined. So this is the highest block height we've been to. You could type in 1, which is the first block that was ever mined. You can look at the transactions. You can type in 10, look at the transactions. You can type in any block that was ever mined up here and you'll just find the transactions. And you can look inside and see what it was. Like for instance, here's block 1. Like nothing in it, just nothing in any of these transactions, because it was just Satoshi mining empty blocks. Well, they weren't. Yeah, they were empty blocks. There was no transactions. I mean, you were getting 50 coins each time you mined a block. We'll get into that.
So if you click the Genesis block there, 0, does it have the? I can't remember exactly what it says.
It will not have it. You won't be able to see it on here, I don't think, but it's somewhere in there. I don't know how you see it on Mempool. Oh, there it is. Yeah, right here. Yep. The times, January 3rd, 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. It does say it.
It's so cool. Sick. That's so sick.
Yeah, there it is. So yeah, minor unknown. I mean, this was like, this is early days for sure.
Very cool.
But anyway, we'll take a step back. Getting sidetracked here. So like
that's awesome that you can go back though.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, you can see everything forever. Everything's visible. So it's all there. Every transaction that's ever happened is in there. But yeah, so here we are. We're waiting on this next block. It's been 15 minutes. So this shows you how many minutes it's been since these last blocks. So like I said, someone's probably trying to watch their transaction because it's been 15 minutes. They're probably sweating, thinking, oh no, when is the next block going to be mined? But, just the other day, I was hanging out with another guy from the meetup. He said he saw 4 blocks in 1 minute go through. So
wow.
There is a great deal of volatility in the amount of time it takes blocks to go through. I mean, it's averaging 10 minutes, but it can be 45 minutes. It can be 4 blocks in a minute. I mean, it can be crazy. So hopefully this one will slide over while we're waiting. But so this block these blocks over here are being packaged essentially. Every miner is putting together and assembling transactions that they want to put in this block. And they're doing that usually based on fees, unless they're trying to like censor someone or whatever. But you just assume they're acting rationally. They want to make the most money, so they're stacking up fees inside of these blocks. If we go down, actually, if we click on the block, I think we might as well go into this. We can look at the fees. So this is what the block kind of looks like, and you see it adjusting every 2 seconds. The mempool will readjust what it's looking like. Then this is the block that they're expecting. So they think these are like the highest transactions they can smash into a block, basically, is this picture. And it's constantly changing because what's happening now, especially with 16 minutes, people set their fee rate at a certain level and thought it would go through in 10. And now because it hasn't, people are now having to get into this like competition to get into this block. So they're raising their fees. People are changing their fees higher, and now it's becoming more competitive. So that's why you're seeing these changes down here.
Gotcha. And are those like larger block pieces, like larger transactions or higher fees?
Yeah. So the fee rate, I believe it should usually it's top to bottom. It's funny that it's like this. These red ones have highest fees. It's so far as fee rate goes. But yeah, these will be like batch transactions. Sometimes these will be NFTs, weird stuff. Who knows? But yeah, often these are like coin joins or batch transactions where you have an exchange sending like 100 people, some, you know, like 100,000 sats each or something. That's what these will look like. And you can click on these and see what they are. Like, yeah, so that's exactly what this is. This is a giant batch transaction. So this is like their input, and these are all these outputs they're going to send to, just, you know, a million little outputs. It could be Coinbase, you know, depositing stuff into customers' funds or into their wallets. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So is it like the multitude of outputs that makes that square appear larger?
So
Is that
yeah,
what
that's
that
a
is?
good question. That's a good question. So basically those squares, this is where we get into V bytes, right? So where somebody mentioned, Alec, you mentioned V bytes maybe before?
Yeah,
But here we
before
go.
we started.
Yeah. So V bytes is a good thing to go into. Basically, when you want to get inside this block, which still hasn't gone through 18 minutes now, like these small blocks are probably just very basic transactions, and your transactions have a weight to them. It's basically like a how much data how much data your transaction is in size. So with under, you know, current constraints, you can actually put up to 4 megabytes into a block. Originally it was only 1, but with SegWit, and now, well, I guess it was SegWit, essentially allowed you to theoretically go all the way to 4 megabytes within a block. And that gets a little complicated, but the point is that there's only so much space in a block. And if you have a really basic transaction like these little ones, you have a very small, see the virtual size down here? I don't think I can scroll over to it, but it's the bottom on there. It says virtual size. So that's 151 V bytes. And then you pay a rate per V byte on top of that. So when you hear people say like 1 sat per V byte, that's the minimum the network allows you to pay. And like up until a month ago, we were all living in this like paradise world of 1 sat per V byte, and you would just get into the next block. It was glorious. And now you can see we're at 61 sats per V byte. I mean, it is getting very expensive. I mean, very expensive comparatively. Still only paying $250. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. You were watching it when it was going all crazy, you know, a week or two ago. Didn't it get up to like over 500?
Yeah.
Oh, it shows it
Yeah, it
right
was
there,
like
49 to 529
where
over
you
there on the left, the fee span.
Oh yeah. But see, this is a funny thing. People love to overpay fees. So the idiot that's paying 529 is just like out of his. I don't know what he's doing. He's being unrealistic. You know, it's like, come on, this block I'll go through. So anyway, we look at these blocks, right? We can see these virtual bytes, and we can see who's paying what. Everyone's paying different rates, but the majority going rate here, you can see over here, median fee. Median's not maybe the best, but 70 sats per V byte is probably going to get you into this. If you wanted to play it really safe, maybe you go like 80 sats per V byte, and you'll almost guaranteed get in to that block. Whereas 529 is just madness. Like there's no reason to pay that much. So, and you don't get, if you pay a huge amount more, you don't get in faster. You still got to wait for the block. You really just want to pay just enough to get into that next block.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess everyone, you know, uses this type of technology because they think like fast, instant payments. Like in your mind, like what are some of the reasons people are trying to rush their transactions? Is it just like a comfortability thing, or
I think a lot of it is honestly, it's being used to the fiat world. So like, imagine, imagine you have customers. Like, let's say this is an exchange. We don't know that, but it looks like an exchange. You've got this huge, like, they're paying hundreds of outputs
Wow.
here. You know, they probably just don't want to make their customers wait. And realistically, you know, they're paying all these outputs. Realistically, they only are paying $70 in fees, and they're just like, look, we just paid 100 customers, or we just paid like 150 customers, you know, transferred all their Bitcoin off. So we're only talking 70 cents or whatever per transaction here. It's just not worth our time to like delay our customers or whatever. So we'll just pay it. It's not that much, especially when you have so many outputs like this.
okay?
Or if you're moving huge amounts of money, I mean, it just seems so cheap. I watched a transaction the other day. It was like $226 million get moved across the network, and the fee was like $3, you know? So like for them to double that is like $6. And still, I mean, these people, it's laughable. They're just thinking, oh my gosh, I just moved $226 million in 10 minutes and it cost me $6 and I overpaid. Like, this is a great deal.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
It puts things in perspective, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you try to
Man.
move $226 million any other way, you know? Good luck.
So Cody, I'm sure this is a stupid question here, but with like, are these literally the blocks publishing to the blockchain? So how does that happen like 4 times in a minute? How does that conflict with like the every 10 minutes thing?
Yeah, so the every 10 minutes thing, these are the actual blocks. So this block has been published to the blockchain, and barring some kind of extreme thing, it will be there for the rest of eternity. There
Right.
are rare examples when you'll get block reorgs and stuff, but that's we won't get into that. It's more complicated. But yeah, these are permanent blocks. So all the transactions that are inside this block are now published to the blockchain. And if you have your wallet, it'll say, and your transaction was in this block, it'll say you have 1 confirmation. And if you were in this block, you have 2 confirmations and 3 confirmations and 4 confirmations. So, and you'll look in your wallet and see thousands of confirmations on your wallet. And that just means it's buried deeper back in the chain. Yeah, but yeah, so the rest of these transactions are all just out here in like the mempool waiting. They're in this like, waiting area, the staging area, just waiting to be packaged and assembled into a block. And then when a miner mines that block, they slide it, assuming everything is good, which it pretty much always is. It just gets slid over, and those transactions become attached to the blockchain. They become the next block. So the way you get 4 and 10 minutes is just because the mining process is super. It's like rolling dice. So you could roll, like, let's say you have to roll. Make it very simple. You have 1 dice. You have to roll a 6 to mine a block.
Okay.
I mean, so by over the long term, you're going to roll it 1 in 6 rolls. You're going to roll a 6, but it's not unheard of to roll 4 6s in a row, and it's also not unheard of to roll 10 times and not roll 6. So that's kind of the explanation there. Is that
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's just really random. I mean, like we've been 24 minutes on this block. It still hasn't gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
So
but the block before that was only 26 minutes ago. So it took 2 minutes to mine a block, and now it's taking 24. So it's just that randomness.
The 10-minute thing's kind of like an average.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, and while we're on that, so look right here, you see this 9.8 minute average block time. So
there you go.
What's happening? This is a kind of a cool thing they updated recently, but so the Bitcoin software, the client or the protocol is basically saying we're going to target 10-minute blocks, and it does that over 2-week periods, which is actually it's not measured in human time, it's measured in block time. So it's every 2016 blocks that pass by, it will readjust the difficulty to make sure that it targets that 10 minutes. So there we go.
Woo!
Oh shit, it happened.
Yes. Yeah, so you can see, we'll go back to this difficulty in just a sec, but let's look at this. So like this block was mined 2 minutes after this block, and you can see the minimum rates that went through. Like the person with the lowest fee is way lower on this one than it is on this one. And it's because, you had 2 blocks really close together. So it just, you got through a bunch of transactions fast, and this one took so long that everybody was clamoring over each other to try and get in the block. So the fees got jacked up higher and higher. So yeah, but we'll go back down here to this difficulty thing. So anyway, every 2016 blocks, the protocol is going to adjust for difficulty. So right now what's happening is we're at 9.8 minute blocks. So we're going too fast. The miners, there's too many miners out there. We're finding blocks too quickly. So what it's estimating is that in 31 hours, they're going to increase the difficulty, the difficulty for the miners to mine a block by 2.26%. So when Satoshi fired up the network, he was running the whole network on 1 laptop, and it did the job. It was fine. And you can run the whole Bitcoin network on 1 miner, or you can run it on 1 billion miners, and the network will just adjust difficulty to accommodate for how many miners there are, basically. So it'll always try and stay to that 10-minute block time, no matter how many miners show up.
That's one of the coolest things about Bitcoin, in my opinion.
Difficulty adjustment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and this is a cool thing. You can see this little this little green bar over here. This will either be green or red, but because we're outpacing where we're supposed to be, it's green, and it says we're 41 blocks ahead of schedule. So that's where we're getting all this from. This is the 2-week time bar right here. And we're out ahead of the chain by 41. We're 41 blocks ahead of where we should be targeted. So it's going to try and fix that by making it harder for the miners to mine in the next 2 weeks. It's just going to say like, it's going to give you a 7-sided dice or something and say, roll 6s. And now you've got 1 extra side on the dice, and it's going to take that much longer. So.
And that basically means it's more miners are coming onto the network, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, it means that the network's getting stronger. It's good to see those green numbers like that. With difficulty getting harder, it just means the network is, more and more secure. There's more and more machines protecting it. So
You said this happens every 2016 blocks, which would equate to the 2 weeks, right?
yeah, I'm not exactly sure if that's exactly 2 weeks, but it's like right around 2 weeks. Yeah.
Roughly.
And a little Easter egg Satoshi may or may not have put in there, but 2016 blocks, if you flip that over in reverse, it's 6102, which was the federal ban on gold back in the day. So who knows?
Oh.
Maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's not.
That is
pretty
fun.
funny.
That is fun.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good one.
so this is telling us at May 18th comes the next difficulty adjustment. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
Yeah, 31 hours from now. Yep, May 18th. And the thing is, we don't know exactly, right? They're just guessing, but yeah, that's their best guess.
Roughly. Cool.
Yeah, because it's going to be number of blocks. It's 188 blocks from now will be the next difficulty adjustment. They're guessing that's going to be May 18th, and they'll probably be pretty close. They'll probably be within an hour, I would think, at this point. So
sweet. What I mean, I don't mean to rush us along here, but I'm looking at this like rainbow and the
oh yeah,
left side there. Like, what
Yeah.
what are these other spaces down here about?
Yeah, this rainbow is, I think it's confusing, to be honest, but it's showing you the different quantities of transactions. So like down on there went another block.
Oh, another block.
Yeah, that was pretty quick.
They
5 minutes.
moving. They
Yeah, they're
moving.
cooking. So like if you look down on the little chart here, it says the red color on the bottom is 1 to 2 sats per vbyte. They don't explicitly tell you it's sats per vbyte here, but that's what that left chart is, I think. Maybe I'm wrong here. No, I think that's what it is. But it's showing you like the different levels of transactions that are in the mempool. What's waiting to be included, kind of in a broad categories of what's waiting to be included. So you can see like there's not a lot of really cheap transactions down here, and there's not a lot of people paying a ton up here. There's still, this category here there's a lot of people trying to get transactions in, down here in this size. But to be honest, I don't really ever use this little like color thing. I mean, it's kind of cool to look at, but I don't really find it too helpful.
Mm-hmm. And the incoming transactions one to the right of that, I just saw that bar like shoot up to yellow. Is that kind of just a linear representation of?
Yeah, that's just showing like kind of real time, like how many transactions are coming in right at the moment into the, like how many are arriving in the mempool to be, to get in line basically. Yeah, you're just seeing it shoot up. Yeah, just the quantity of transactions showing up at any given time. So,
gotcha.
And then I think it's kind of cool. This reminds me of the Matrix right here. This latest transactions bar. This is just like you can just sit here and watch like the transactions sort of coming into the network. It'll change like every few seconds, and sometimes you'll see like this guy just moved 15 cents, which is it's basically that's not even really possible. He basically just gave the miners all that, but you'll see like $20 million go moving across there every once in a while. So I don't know. Don't ask me how much time I've looked at that, Alec. It's a lot.
That's what you do on Friday nights, just
exactly.
Yeah, right. Just knock back a beer and watch that.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, who's moving money? Who's overpaying on fees?
That is one thing I want to look at, because at our last meetup, you showed, kind of some different transactions. But before we jump there, like really quick, the mining pools over here on the the bottom left.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm going to click on this actually. So this is the latest blocks, and there's a lot of crazy stuff in here, but these are the mining pools that have mined the most recent blocks. So those last few that we just watched, Foundry USA, which I think is now the biggest pool in the world, mined 1, Ant Pool, F2 Pool. These are the big dogs. These guys mine a lot of blocks. And then you've got like smaller players. Like we don't even have any smaller players on this whole page. These are all pretty much big pools. But if you go further back in the chain, we can probably find some like
Brains or Luxor.
Yeah, or Mara. Like Marathon is right here. Luxor, I'm not seeing. Did you see Luxor?
No, it's just a smaller pool. I'm
see if we can find one. There's got to be one in here somewhere. Marathon got another block here. I haven't seen any Slush Pool, which is now Brains Pool. Yeah, here we go. Luxor. Poolin. It's kind of a smaller pool. And occasionally you'll see the ones that are unknown, and it could just be some random dude out there. Who knows? Here's Brains Pool. It used to be Slosh. And yeah, these are the miners finding all the who found those blocks, and that's all self-reported. You don't have to tell. That's why occasionally you'll get unknown ones because they aren't reporting that they found the blocks. It's just some who knows. Yeah, right here, unknown. Somebody somewhere mined a block, and we don't know who it is.
And we don't have to get deep into this, but from my understanding, like mining pools are used because of if everyone was mining individually, there wouldn't like the economics don't work as well in that fashion.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just go back to normal pool here. Yeah, the issue with pools is they smooth out the volatility. So like I ran some miners for a while, and like let's say you have like a couple S9s. I mean, to find an actual block would take like, I don't even know. It's probably like 70 years of running an S9 to find a block. It's like astronomically unlikely. So if you had to just sit out there and mine by yourself, you'd never even bother because you're like, there's no way I'll find a block. But what you do with these pools is just everybody pools all their power together, and then they pay it out evenly depending on how much hash rate you brought to the pool. So it just makes it to where you can actually make like a little bit of money instead of having to wait for this super unlikely massive payout. You can get steady income.
That's pretty amazing. Sweet.
Yeah.
Jason, if you have any other questions, I don't know if Cody maybe has a transaction we could.
Yeah, I've got a few. So. Jason, do you have any questions? Sorry, I cut you off.
I don't know. I'm glad, Alec, that you asked about the mining pool thing. You kind of beat me to the punch on that one, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Before we do that, though, I just want to run over this. There's like transaction estimation here, which goes into like, if you want to make it into high priority, is like theoretically the next block. So it kind of tells you how many sats per VByte to pay. And it's not always right. It's not always perfect, but it gets you close. If you have a giant break between blocks, like an hour-long block break, it's going to be really expensive. You're just going to be SOL probably. If you only pay 43, you might miss it, but it'll get you close. So that's there.
Is this I guess kind of a personal question, but do you actually watch this to determine when you're going to send a transaction and set like what your fee limits are?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you weren't going to find me throwing down 500 sats per VByte to send transactions. I was like, well, I'm not doing any Bitcoin transactions, Lightning only for me. And now it's down to the point where it's like getting better, and I'll send transactions. But yeah, I come on here all the time to check before I'm going to send transactions, just to see what's going on and see like where I need to be. I think I have a transaction right now that I've been waiting on for like, it's been there for like 4 days. And I think I put it at 15 sats per VByte. So it may never make it. If you go too low, it just boots it out after like 5 to 7 days. You just get kicked out of the mempool, and they're like, try again. So.
Well, I hope that person doesn't need that Bitcoin urgently.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry now. Yeah, it's fine. So. Yeah, where are we going to go? Yeah, we're going to get some blocks. All right, so let's see here. I got a couple blocks to look at. And we'll get into, let me see what this one is. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. We may come back to that. Let me look at this other one. Okay, this is a less extreme example, but as of recently, there have been new, people putting, dick butts and monkey JPEGs on Bitcoin. And that's like what we're going to look at, basically. Like, so this was the expected block, okay?
Cody, I'm not seeing anything different here.
Oh.
Yeah, we're on the same screen.
Wait a minute. You're on the mempool screen. Oh, you know what? Yeah, hang on. Sorry, 1 second. 1 second. I didn't realize it wouldn't follow me. Let me share my entire screen. Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
There we go. Yeah, is that better?
There she is.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is the one I want to go through. Yeah, so basically this is the expected block. So like they're looking at the Mempool.Space here is looking at the transaction sitting in the mempool and saying, if we were to mine a block, this is what we would mine. We would mine a block with these transactions. It would make the most money. Okay, and then what actually happened was this. And that's interesting because it's like, why would it be different than the expected block? And there's like a few reasons. One is like latency, that maybe different transactions made it to the miner faster or slower than Mempool.Space was finding out, right? So like maybe these guys, maybe the miners are in China and somebody tried to send a transaction at the very last minute in America, and because of just tiny changes in how long it takes to get over there, they didn't get it in time or whatever. So there's always going to be little differences here. But what we've seen lately is big differences. And what this is showing here, like these pink blocks on the side, these were removed from the block. So these are like pretty good normal fee rate transactions that you would think like, oh, these should go in this block. They got removed for transactions like these little blue ones. They marked the blue ones as added transactions. These were never in the mempool. These transactions were brought to a miner, this is like some back alley stuff. Like you go to the miner via like email or something and you say, hey, I've got a Bitcoin transaction. Like this guy paid no fee, or let's see, no, I'm sorry, he did pay something. But sometimes it'll show up as zero fee because they just pay the miner like with $100 bill or something in their pocket. And they say, hey, put this in the next block you mine. So that's what's going on here. Like these miners were saying, we're going to skip all these pink blocks. Forget those. We've got all these JPEGs and, dick butts that we're going to put on the chain because they paid us a bunch of money out of band, as they call it, which is like, they called them up and said, hey, put this transaction in your next block. And they said, all right.
Why?
Probably extra money. They're probably just paying higher fee rates. I don't know exactly why you'd bother because a lot of these JPEGs and stuff go through like normal transactions. But for whatever reason, like the very first, I'll look at it. So let's look at this one. This is the glorious example of the ultimate. I think this might have been like the first one. This is the proposed block. And this is what actually happened. So this block paid $0. There's no fee attached to this at all. So somebody called up. Who mined this?
Luxor.
So yes, exactly. This is probably Rindale's dick butt, the like quintessential JPEG or whatever that's on, Anyway, the quintessential inscription. I didn't actually check to see if it was, but I think it is. But yeah, he probably just went to Luxor, whoever it was, went to Luxor and said, hey, I'll give you like, I don't know how much they would have paid. It probably was like, at the time, it wasn't very much. It's probably like a couple $1,000 to fill the whole block up. Because back then, fees were cheap. So, it wasn't that expensive to fill a full block. But yeah, he just showed up and they were supposed to mine this block. Everybody was thinking like, oh, cool, I'll get into the next block. Fees are not too bad. No big deal. And then this happens. So
make way for the dick butt.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody gets in the block. It's just one gigantic JPEG that makes it in.
Oh my gosh. That's pretty wild. And like, I don't know if you looked at some of those blocks. I saw someone tweeted about like the fees exceeded like the block reward. So it was like 12.5 Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's like something I never thought of. I mean, I guess I thought I'd see it like in my lifetime or something, but I did not think it was coming in 2023 for sure. I was like, no way. I was like, there's, I used to get excited when we were mining. I'd get like really excited when there was a quarter coin in fees. And we were seeing 6.5 coins in fees like last week,
That's
so
insane.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's still quite high. I think it's still something like 3/4 or a full coin in fees on every block now. So it's still pretty high.
And it's great for miners. Great for
it is,
network, right?
It is, yeah. And I think a lot of people turn machines on that were off because they were like, wow, this is amazing. But while we're here, so those blue ones are the ones that were never in the mempool. These are like the shady under the table JPEGs that go in. These green ones are also interesting because these are marginal fee rates. What I think is going on with these, I don't actually know. Maybe nobody knows. But these are transactions that were included but had really low fee rates. So it makes you wonder, like, why did they get included? They were like atypically low in fees. So why are the miners including them? And it makes me wonder because I think this transaction is a Whirlpool, it might be a Wasabi coin join. It looks like a coin join for sure. And what I think is going on is you're having these maybe exchanges and Wasabi like CoinJoin, services are making agreements with miners to make sure their stuff gets through, whether or not they place the right fee on it. They've got some kind of arrangement maybe with miners. That's one explanation for why this might be happening. But this is an interesting. Just while we're here, this is what a CoinJoin looks like, basically.
Just
It
like
just
the
looks like
input matches the output.
there's like a million inputs and a million outputs, and then you'll have equal sized outputs here. So you can go down here and look. So you can see like the million inputs come in, they could be whatever size. And then on the output side, you have all these matching ones, same size, so that you're hiding in a crowd. So these 5 transactions, you know, who's to say who came? Everybody can see who came in, but on the outside, you're hiding in a crowd of 5. You know, there's 5 of you that could have this denomination, or so. Yeah, it gives you
That's
plausible
cool.
deniability there. Yeah. But anyway, that's getting sidetracked on that stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting times in the mempool. I mean, this is like this was not happening like 2 or 3 months ago before inscriptions and stuff. Mempool was pretty snoozy. Like they didn't even have a lot of this stuff. Like this has been basically like invented. This health check right here is kind of measuring how many unknown blocks were entered in, or how many unknown transactions were entered in, basically. So how many under the table deals are going on is sort of, you know, showing up in this like health check measure.
So you want that to be pretty high, right? That health percentage.
Yeah, and then you know, there's not anything inherently too wrong with having these out of band payments going on, but yeah, it's just saying like that the actual block was only 98% correct to the expected block. So there was whatever percentage of like secret transactions that were kind of going on in there. Whereas like, I mean, 3 months ago, it would have been 100% on every block forever, basically.
And those tend to correlate with like the inscriptions and the JPEGs. Those tend to be like the under the table things that we're seeing coming over.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know what else would really qualify. I'm trying to think what else. But before like pre-inscription days, what would have happened? It's just there was really no need, you know. It wouldn't have. There was no need to like do any kind of any of that stuff. You know?
Do like censored blocks affect that health percent?
That's a good question. So censored blocks, as we at least think, there's not a lot of censored blocks. But if there was, these pink blocks could be considered censored blocks, right? So I'm saying these probably got pushed out because they replaced them with a bunch of dick butts and monkey JPEGs. But it's possible these were just censored. We don't know. But the miner, for whatever reason, said, I'm not going to, you know, these are very reasonably, you know, very good transactions to have in the block, but I'm going to choose not to mine them. So we don't really know.
So you can kind of see like if there's consistency with a specific mining pool at a low health percentage, you know, that would probably throw up some red flags for folks and be like, yo, maybe we should switch mining pools or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and some mining pools have attempted to censor in the past, but like Luxor, for instance, like that block we looked at, I think Luxor has been like very much so the go-to like NFT mining pool. They were the ones who did the very first ones, and I think they continue to be doing a lot of that stuff in their blocks. And then I don't remember who it was that tried to censor. I want to say it was. I think it was Marathon. I think it was Marathon. Yeah, they tried it and then pretty much had to bail because it's pointless, and they were getting spammed with dark coins to their receive address on their Coinbase receive address was getting like dark coins sent to it to pollute it, so that they couldn't even, by their own rules, they couldn't even keep their own coins because now their own coins had like dark coins within them or whatever, you know. So it was just, yeah,
that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, pretty funny. Oh, sorry.
You're good. I said sweet. What
sorry,
what else do you think's of importance to know on Mempool?
Well, I mean, I think for main chain, that's plenty to like have to deal with. There's not a whole lot else. I mean, there's probably more we could go into on the main chain, but there's like entire other explorers on here. There's a Lightning Explorer, there's a mining page you can look at. You can look at, you know, BISC and Liquid over here, and Liquid testnet and regular Bitcoin testnet. But this is like, I wouldn't even know what to look at in here. Testnet's pretty understandable actually, but the rest of it, who knows? Most people can just stay away from that stuff. But Lightning's kind of interesting if you guys want to go into that. I don't know.
I'm down to touch on it lightly.
Okay. Yeah, I got a couple. So you got the map. This is actually the map. It's not just like a, you know, it's not just like a cool art piece. That is actually the nodes that are around. or at least some of the nodes that are around throughout the world that are connected
Sweet.
on Lightning. But this kind of tells you some cool stuff. So down here, you just got a chart of where nodes are being hosted. So you don't, like, at least in my opinion, I don't want all my nodes hosted on Amazon and Google Cloud and all this stuff, whatever. But a lot of them are, unfortunately. And this is actually, I think, by capacity, not by number of nodes. And this is interesting. So if you look at like number of nodes is 15,000, and then you look at, where does it say this? It'll tell you how many nodes are on Tor somewhere. It's like 10,000 nodes on Tor. So Tor nodes are like what all of us plebs run. That's like, embassies and, whatever it's called. Well, Raspberry Blitz and Umbrel. Like everybody that's running all that stuff, those are all running over Tor for the most part. So all the like plebs are running these like Tor Lightning nodes, and they're accounting for like 2/3 of the total nodes on the network are running on Tor. So we don't know, this map can't show their location because this map's using IP addresses and Tor, masks all that stuff, which I think is really bullish because it's like awesome, good. Nobody knows exactly where all these nodes are. Like I think that's great.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to know the geographic location of the nodes. So, but by capacity, like Tor capacity is only 260 Bitcoin, which is funny because it's the majority of the nodes, but the absolute minority of the capacity. And then ClearNet capacity is huge. It's 5,000 coins. So that's kind of like the whole Lightning network, what amount is locked up in Lightning is between those two numbers, or the unknown capacity as well.
So these like Google Cloud, Amazon nodes, are they generally being run by like a Lightning service provider? Is that why they're hosted there?
Yeah, or they're just big nodes. Like I don't know, like I don't know where Kraken and River, these are your like big ones as far as like how much capacity they have. I don't know where they're running them. If Async is running in the cloud or something. I think a lot of people run nodes in the cloud because you just don't have to deal with the hardware nightmare of trying to run a big routing node at home on physical hardware, and the uptime is good in the cloud and all that stuff. So
Gotcha.
yeah, but there's this is like a decent map over here. I don't think it's the best map, so I pull up another map which I like better. Let me see if this is the one. Oh, this one's pretty good. You're still with me on this new screen, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is this LN router site that has this really in-depth, like space looking Lightning experience, basically. But this giant ball of these are all nodes in the Lightning network. These are all the nodes that are known on the Lightning graph or like Lightning network. And you can see there should be like 15,000 of them in here. But you can see like a solar system, there are like bigger dots and smaller dots, like all of us plebs have these little teeny dots, and then you can see these like big and medium-sized nodes inside here. And you can go through and you can click on these little nodes. Like let's click a medium-sized node here, and it will show you where their connections go to. So like if you back out, you can see who this node's connected to, and he's connected to a lot of people. Or you connect like one of these little nodes. This is just like some random person. Let's see, is it going? Sorry, it's a little slow. I think my poor computer is like,
all good.
But
and there's some giants in there.
Yeah, there's huge. I mean, these guys will have, just like this giant right here. I mean, I don't know who this is. It'll tell you who they are. You can look at all of them. You can see all their names, and everything. But yeah, you can see these are all channels just connected to tons of people. I want to get one of these little ones. Let me zoom in a little further. And if you get far enough in here, you can read everybody's names. There's some classic names in here.
Oh, that's what's under. I was wondering like what shape these words, the name underneath it.
Yeah, these are the names. So like these are, all these like funny little nodes, and some of them just have a lot of these ones that are just like, these are probably like they just have numbers, and they just have that guy's got one channel and it just goes straight to this guy, and then he's connected to the whole world basically because he's got like 1 million connections. So if he wants to send a Lightning payment, he just beams it straight to this guy, and this guy beams it to somebody else, who beams it to somebody else, or whatever, and it finds its way out.
Can you find your own node in there? Like, can you search for the name?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So here, like Warwick here's got 5 channels open. It looks like, or 6 channels. But yeah, you can definitely search your own. Billy Bob over here. I'm not going to search I'm not going to dox my lightning node.
No,
I
I'm
see what
not
you're trying to
asking you
do
to do
out.
that. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm offline. I'm
asking
trying to
you.
go find my node in here.
Yeah, you can find it in here. Yeah, you can look at your connections and everything. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's a pretty crazy spider web of stuff. I mean, it's really like wild that this, this is what it looks like out there. It's just this giant nest of interconnected lightning nodes that can all relay through each other.
So,
Yeah.
random question here. In comparison to like Bitcoin main chain versus Lightning nodes, is there like a comparable amount? I don't know if we saw that on the mempool screen. Does it show like how many like core nodes there are versus
Good
Lightning?
question. I am not sure if it shows that on Mempool either. Let's go look.
I know like Clark Moody dashboard
I-
has it.
Yeah, Clark Moody might have it. I think he does. It's also hard to know again because like all of these Umbrel nodes and stuff run over Tor, so you would know. But I think it's more. I think it's way more actually full nodes being run than Lightning nodes, like orders of magnitude. I thought I heard someone say it was like 50,000 nodes, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, maybe it doesn't. It just shows Lightning nodes.
Oh, on Clark Moody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's the other thing with like these, like I was saying, how there's like everyone has their own mempool, and if you have an Umbrel or a Start9 Embassy or Raspberry Blitz or whatever, you can run mempool on your own machine, and it's your own mempool. It's your own node telling you the information that we're seeing here. You don't have to trust Mempool.Space. You can just fire up your own version. It looks exactly like this, but it's getting data from your node. And why everyone's gonna have a slightly different mempool is a lot of that like latency stuff, and which nodes are you talking specifically to, and which information do they get first and relay on. So the nodes are all like sort of talking to each other, but they're not all talking. Everyone's not talking to everyone at once. It's kind of this like, it's slight delays and slight changes. So you're all going to have like a slightly different mempool, all of you. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Sweet. Well, anything else? I don't think I have any other questions. That was super informative. I've learned a absolute ton. I feel confident of what I'm actually looking at on there now. So
Nice.
Thank you, Cody. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it's
Yeah.
But it is good. I check it all. I mean, I check it all the time, and not just for funsies. I do, like, if I'm going to send a transaction, I'll get on there and look and be like, I think 15 will go through in 6 days. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, I mean, Cody, like prior to the last meeting, I would have never thought to even look at something like that and try and time my transaction to the fees going on. So, like, this is important stuff to know for sure.
Yeah, it is, and it is a good way to look at it. I think, I think people should look at that stuff more. Like, I mean, you don't have to like obsess over it, but if you're watching your own transaction, also if you go on there and you click the block that your transaction's in, or you type in your transaction ID, because you can do that on there too, it'll jingle when your block gets mined. So that's pretty cool. So just have it. It makes this nice little jingle sound when you're yeah. So, but yeah, you can put so like in that search bar, you can put the block number you want to search. You can put transaction IDs. You can put addresses in that search bar and see how much coins and what address. And, it's got a lot of functionality. And if you just get in there and play around, and click on transactions and look at stuff, you'll just learn a bunch by just like messing around in there. So, yeah,
sweet. Well, that's probably what I'm going to spend the rest of the night doing.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, send a transaction. Get that jingle.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. I appreciate it, Cody. Yeah. I mean, if you're open and want to share, your Twitter, I'm going to be posting this out there. So maybe you'll get a follower or two out there. And
I mean, everyone already follows me, Alex. So there's probably nobody left. Yeah, I'm at 86 Cody Harris on just the super bland Cody spelling and bland Harris spelling on Twitter. So
Sweet. And
I'll be at the conference if anyone's going to be there. We'll be the team that's winning the full Bitcoin at the Bitcoin Games. So it should be pretty easy to
Love
spot us.
that. Love that.
Yeah.
absolutely representing for the
Yeah.
local meetup. I mean, encouragement for everyone to go to their meetup. You know, that's how I met Cody. That's how you connect with Bitcoiners. And I have serious FOMO that I'm not going to this conference, but I hope you have a great time and
I know, man. You'll be missed. You'll
take
be
home that
missed.
Bitcoin, man.
I will. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
brother.
pretty much a deal. It's a done deal, basically. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, man. Thanks so much. Have a great
Cool.
rest of your night and enjoy Miami. We'll see you at the next meetup.
Yeah, sounds good. See you then.
All right, brother.
See you,
ya.
boys.
See you, Jason. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you learned something. That was a lot of information. I'm excited to really just dive in and, you know, look up some of my previous transactions, you know, tons of things you can obviously do on there. But like I mentioned, go to your local Bitcoin meetup. You know, you're going to meet a ton of people. You're going to learn a lot. You know, that's why we're in this space. And make sure if you did learn something, please like the video, please share it, drop a comment. You know, if there's something else you're curious about learning, I'm looking for guests to bring on and teach us more about Bitcoin in general. So if you're an expert in something related to Bitcoin, I would love to have you on. Shoot me a message, drop us an email, and we appreciate it. Have a great one. See you guys.